One step in the wrong direction and the world can erase you before you even understand what happened. The ground beneath your feet might not be solid. The air filling your lungs might not be safe. The sky above you might already be charging with lethal energy. We call this planet home, but in certain corners of it, survival hangs by a thread, so thin you could snap it with a single breath. Earth is breathtakingly beautiful, but beauty here is often a warning sign. Towering cliffs, shimmering lakes, endless deserts, frozen horizons, they draw us in with quiet majesty. Yet in some places, nature does not hesitate. In these landscapes, danger is not dramatic or loud. It is immediate. Imagine standing on the rim of an active volcanic crater, where the ground trembles with pressure building miles below. In places like Mount Nyiragongo, lava lakes churn like molten oceans, their surfaces shifting unpredictably. A sudden release, a crack in the earth, and rivers of fire can surge faster than a human can run. Here, the line between awe and catastrophe is measured in seconds. Far to the north, the ground can betray you just as quickly. On the shifting ice shelves of Antarctica, what looks like solid white terrain may conceal crevasses deep enough to swallow buildings. A thin crust of snow can collapse without warning, and in that instant, gravity does the rest. The cold is not patient. Exposure begins its quiet work immediately. Then there are lakes that look almost serene. The surface of Lake Nyos appears calm, reflecting sky and mountain with deceptive stillness. But beneath that glassy surface, invisible carbon dioxide can accumulate in deadly volumes. When it erupts upward, it displaces oxygen itself. In the time it takes to inhale, the air can become something you cannot survive. Heat can be just as ruthless. In the vast emptiness of Death Valley, temperatures climb high enough to warp perception. The sun presses down like weight. Sweat evaporates before it cools you. Without water or shade, the body begins to fail rapidly, and confusion sets in long before help could ever arrive. The desert does not chase you. It simply waits. High above sea level, the threat changes form. On the slopes of Mount Everest, the air itself grows thin and unforgiving. A misstep near an exposed ridge can send a climber into open space. Even standing still, the lack of oxygen clouds judgment. Decisions slow. Reactions dull. In that fragile zone, hesitation can be fatal. In tropical waters, beauty shimmers with equal danger. Along certain coastlines of Australia, box jellyfish drift nearly invisible beneath the surface. Their tentacles trail silently, almost elegantly. A single brush can trigger paralysis. Within moments, the ocean remains calm above, sunlight dancing across waves, indifferent to what unfolds below. Cliffs carved by wind and time present another illusion of stability. The white chalk edges of Beachy Head appear firm, solid against the horizon. Yet erosion works constantly, hollowing from beneath. A step too close to the edge, a fragment breaking free, and gravity again becomes immediate and absolute. Lightning has its own hunting grounds. In regions like Lake Maracaibo, storms ignite the sky with relentless intensity. Bolts strike water and land in rapid succession, turning open space into a charged field of unpredictability. There is no warning beyond a shift in air and a distant rumble. Then the sky reaches down. Even the earth beneath forests can shift without notice. In geothermal zones surrounding Yellowstone National Park, thin crusts form over boiling pools. Steam rises gently, almost invitingly, but step beyond marked paths and the surface can collapse, revealing water hot enough to scald instantly. The landscape breathes heat you cannot see. Rivers, too, can transform from gentle currents to sudden traps in narrow slot canyons scattered across the American Southwest. A distant storm miles away can unleash a flash flood that races through stone corridors without warning. One moment, silence. The next, a wall of water charging through with unstoppable force. And sometimes the threat comes not from what moves, but from what waits on unstable mountain faces and thawing permafrost slopes. Rocks loosen quietly. A single shift in temperature, a subtle tremor, and gravity releases tons of stone downward. There is no time to outrun something that has already begun to fall. What makes these places terrifying is not their hostility, but their indifference. They are not evil landscapes. They are simply powerful systems operating on scales far beyond human reflex. We enter them as visitors, often unaware that the margin for error has already vanished. They are not, and these are only the edges of the map, places where nature reveals its power in flashes and fractures. Deeper within the planet's extremes lie environments even less forgiving, where the danger does not just appear in seconds, but surrounds you from every direction, waiting for the slightest mistake. And beyond those edges lie places where survival is not unlikely, but nearly impossible. In these environments, the margin for error disappears entirely. There is no adjustment period, no gradual warning. One shift in pressure, one breath of the wrong air, one unstable surface beneath your weight, and the planet asserts its dominance instantly. At the floor of the Mariana Trench, pressure rises to more than 1,000 times what we feel at sea level. Steel structures, designed by the brightest engineers on Earth, are tested to their limits there. A single structural failure in that darkness would be immediate and absolute. The water itself becomes a crushing force, turning depth into something no human body could ever endure. On the surface, the danger can be just as swift. In Ethiopia's Danakil Depression, near Dallol, toxic gases seep from neon-colored hydrothermal pools. The air shimmers with heat and acidity. Sulfur compounds mix invisibly with oxygen, creating an atmosphere that can overwhelm lungs in moments. It looks alien and beautiful, but the chemistry beneath that beauty leaves no room for hesitation. Far above, in the thin stratosphere where jet aircraft cruise, humans survive only because of engineering. Remove cabin pressure at 35,000 feet, and consciousness fades in seconds. The body is not designed for such altitude. Oxygen drops, blood chemistry shifts, and clarity vanishes almost instantly. Even here, wrapped in technology, survival depends entirely on fragile systems functioning perfectly. In Siberia, the ground itself breathes methane. Vast craters have appeared without warning as permafrost thaws and underground gas builds pressure. When it releases, the explosion reshapes the landscape in an instant. What looked like solid tundra becomes a ruptured wound in the earth. Climate, chemistry, and heat combine, and stability vanishes without a sound. Deep within caves filled with volcanic gases, such as Italy's Grotta del Cane, carbon dioxide pools, low to the ground, it is invisible, odorless, and heavier than air. Step into a pocket of it, and oxygen is quietly displaced. There is no dramatic warning, just dizziness, then collapse, as the atmosphere itself becomes unbreathable. The ocean holds its own sudden traps. Along certain coastlines, rogue waves rise without pattern, towering walls of water formed by intersecting currents and wind. Scientists study their formation, yet prediction remains imperfect. A calm horizon can transform into vertical force in seconds. For anyone standing too close, the transition from stability to chaos is instantaneous. Radiation shapes other landscapes in silence. Near the ruins of Chernobyl nuclear power plant, invisible particles persist decades after the initial disaster. Gamma rays and radioactive isotopes do not roar or glow. They pass through tissue without sensation. The danger lies not in drama, but in exposure, measured in moments that alter cells beyond repair. Storm systems in the open ocean amplify this indifference. In the heart of a Category 5 hurricane, wind speeds exceed what most structures on land are built to endure. Pressure drops rapidly. Waves rise into chaotic peaks, and debris becomes airborne projectiles. The physics are simple, energy transferred across air and water, but the scale dwarfs anything human hands can restrain. Even gravity intensifies in unexpected places. Near steep glacier faces, massive walls of ice can calve without warning. A single fracture line, invisible from a distance, can send thousands of tons crashing into the sea. The resulting displacement generates waves powerful enough to overturn vessels. Ice, which appears frozen and slow, moves with astonishing force. When balance fails, in deserts where sand dunes migrate with the wind, entire landscapes shift overnight. Orientation disappears. Landmarks vanish. Without reference, the human sense of direction falters quickly. Heat dehydrates, wind erases footprints, and the horizon offers no clues. Disorientation alone becomes a threat, as real as temperature. Science explains each of these dangers with precision pressure gradients, toxic concentrations, thermal extremes, kinetic energy. But explanation does not equal control. Our species has mapped tectonic plates and atmospheric systems. Yet we remain physically fragile within them. Muscles and bones evolved for survival in narrow bands of temperature and pressure. Beyond those bands, we rely on caution and luck. What becomes clear is not that Earth is hostile, but that it is vast. Its systems operate according to laws indifferent to our presence. We build, explore, and adapt, but we do so inside forces we did not design. The planet does not bend to accommodate us. We learn to move carefully within it. And in recognizing that fragility, something shifts. The same volcanic heat that can overwhelm in seconds also forges new land. The same pressure that crushes at depth supports ecosystems adapted to darkness. Earth creates and destroys with the same steady rhythm. We survive not because the planet is gentle, but because for now, we exist within the narrow margins where its power allows life to endure.